Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky, and with me for part 2 of The Traitor is Jeff Taub.
Hey, how you doing, Joe?
Good, really good. He's an actor. He's literally a professional clown. He's a great orator. And he's a great guy to watch G.I. Joe with. Jeff, welcome back.
You're too kind.
For those of you listening, if this is your first episode of Joe on Joe, I urge you go back and check out the previous episode because this is actually part 2 of a show called The Traitor.
2-part episode, The Traitor, left it on a cliffhanger last time.
Left it on a total cliffhanger last time, which normally when they do the 2-parters, they open the show with a recap, and it's the narrator doing a recap.
Okay,
They do that on this show,
yeah,
but it's so good. They actually work it into the show itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so wait till you see it. I'm excited for you to see it.
Oh,
so,
wow. This is going to be great.
Yeah. But for those of you listening at home, if you haven't heard it, basically Dusty went home to visit his sick mom, and she had too many medical bills. And so he's out trying to contemplate how he can pay for them. And the Crimson Twins show up, Tomax and Zaymot, and they say, hey, if you give us some G.I. Joe secrets, we'll give you a bunch of money. You can save your mom. Everyone will be happy.
Yeah, because she's going to lose her home because of her medical
home,
bills.
All of it.
Yeah.
So Dusty thinks about it, and he turns out he's got to save his mom.
Yeah.
So seemingly, Dusty gives Cobra some information on a couple more than one occasion.
A small one to begin with, and then a bigger one later on.
Yeah, and he gives Cobra a bunch of information, and it seems like he really sold him out. And then at the end of the show, first at the second spot of conflict, Duke, this is important, Duke got thrown into a coma because there was an explosion.
Right.
And then when they got back from that mission, they caught Dusty red-handed snapping photos on a Cobra-branded mini camera.
Shipwreck.
Yeah, Shipwreck caught him, and he was snapping top-secret photos.
Yeah.
So they court-martialed him, and they sentenced him to life at Fort Leavenworth with heavy labor.
Hard labor for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Hard labor.
You're a traitor.
Yeah. Flint is like, you're done. You're done.
You're out.
You're done, Dusty. You're done.
They had their own little G.I. Joe tribunal panel, and they said, we're not even
You're out.
In-house. You're out of here.
So exciting. It's so exciting. And so then we left it with, as he was being transported, Cobra showed up, and they kidnapped him, and they rescued him. So now Dusty's with Cobra, and that's how we left it. So, Jeff, before we got started, something came up on TV, and they referenced Captain Planet.
Yes.
And the Planeteers.
Ugh.
Okay, so that got me thinking.
Yeah.
What can we talk with Jeff about in the second episode? When we get you on the show, we like to say, what kind of stuff did you watch growing up? What were you doing? What did you love when you were growing up, right?
Right.
What did you hate when you were growing up? Like, what cartoons? I would put Captain Planet in there as one of them.
Yeah.
It was a terrible cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
It had a good message. I get that.
Yeah.
Save the world. I get the message.
Eco-positive. In the 80s.
But it was awful.
Yeah, it was like one big giant PSA.
Yes.
And it was kind of cheesy. And
the animation was bad. It was terrible.
Good intentions, bad cartoon.
Is there a cartoon or a kid show that really got under your skin?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, growing up being, a boy, all the girl cartoons, I wouldn't stand if I was with my cousins.
Like Strawberry Shortcake.
Strawberry Shortcake, Jim and the Holograms. See, I could never get into any of that. It was
like
so
Gem.
geared towards girls.
See, I kind of like Gem because it was the same company that did G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So in my head, that was happening in the same universe.
Yeah.
For me, back in the day, I hated stuff like Snorks because it was Smurfs underwater.
Yeah.
And even to like my 10-year-old eyes, I was like, this is such a ripoff. Like it was such a ripoff.
And the Smurfs were even not that great of a cartoon.
Well, they were and they weren't. Like
others,
I loved the Smurfs.
Oh, Smurfs
like
were
I
fine.
loved it, but yeah, I mean it was a bit repetitive, and they always say like if you go back and watch them, it's all communism.
Oh yeah,
like subtle commie messages and stuff.
I remember back in the day, growing up in a religious household, there was a whole thing about like the Smurfs were like it was all like satanic evil stuff, and you couldn't watch it because it had all these undertones, magic. And
I'm down with Smurfs. I'm not here. I can't knock on Smurfs, but like Snorks.
Gargamel, Azrael.
Do you remember there was Gummy Bears?
Yeah,
which were a ripoff of Care Bears.
Right.
I like, I had 2 older sisters, so
yeah.
I was down with Care Bears. And even, I gotta be honest, even Strawberry Shortcake, I used to watch the specials because they would do Strawberry Shortcake specials.
Sure.
I used to watch those when they came on.
Yeah.
But, like, you had the Care Bears, and you're like, all right, I could get into some Care Bears. And then the Gummy Bears come out, and you're like, it's the Care Bears.
Yeah.
And then am I supposed to eat you? Like, I was really confused with the Gummy Bears.
It's like the next iteration that's not as good as the first one.
Right.
And no, there were not very many other than at the time. I didn't care for Captain Planet really at all. Voltron. Once you do Cars and you get away from the cats. I'm out.
Yeah, they did change the cars, didn't they?
They changed the cars and they made it more in space and everything, and I did not care for it at all. I was just like, I'm out.
I liked Voltron, but I wasn't a regular viewer because I don't know why I wasn't a regular viewer. But every time I caught it, I loved it.
Yeah,
and I never had any of the toys, but my cousin did, and so occasionally I'd be over at his house. I'm like, you got a Voltron? Let me play with one of those lions.
Yeah,
I was fascinated by it.
Yeah,
I loved Voltron.
I loved it when it was the cats, but there weren't a lot, only a handful here and there, Snorks, things like that that I didn't really not like.
Now, I was a little too old when this first hit the scene. Like but it was definitely still in my early teens, so it was still in my wheelhouse. And it's getting a huge resurgence now. And I'm sorry, I've always hated the Power Rangers.
Oh, I never got into the Power Rangers.
They're terrible. And I liked Spectre Man.
I mean, that's not even a cartoon, though.
I liked Spectre Man. I liked Godzilla.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a cartoon, but but it was the same block of
programming. In that genre,
like, I liked like old, kung fu or Japanese shows that were translated over.
Right.
Like I loved Spectre. Whenever I caught Spectre Man, which wasn't often, but whenever I did, I was like, Spectre Man. Like, it was so cool. I hated that Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show so much.
I agree with you.
I thought it was the worst, but now it's with the movie. In the movie, honestly, the movie might be fun. I have no idea.
Yeah, they kind of look like they're Iron Manned up a little bit.
Yeah, I just saw the first trailer for it.
Like
it could be totally fine. But the reverence that some of my friends, like Pablo, who's been a guest on the show,
right?
They talk about Power Rangers like it was actually good. It wasn't good.
No.
It was never good.
No.
Ever.
No.
It was not a good show.
I just never really got into it. It was, in a way, a live action iteration. I don't want to say what put the cart before the horse, chicken or the egg came first. Voltron came before.
Oh, yeah, it was live action Voltron. Yeah,
it was live action Voltron.
Yeah, it was totally that. Yeah.
And then dubbed over in America.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the masks on because it was done in Japan.
Yeah. Saban. I think Saban.
And,
Saban was the company.
And then, of course, when they took the masks off, they hired American actors.
I just it was just the acting was terrible.
It wasn't good.
Even as a young kid, I was like, this it's just terrible. The kung fu fights would be funny or fun, but all the rest of it in the middle was just awful.
It was like a Saved by the Bell / 90210 version of Voltron live action.
Saved by the Bell was 10 times better than anything Power Rangers ever did.
No. But just that whole the cheese factor and everything to it of that time and everything. But
but luckily, like a year or so, it must. I'm trying to think. We haven't really researched this, but it had to be within a couple years. The Batman the Animated Series showed up.
Yes.
And that
early mid-90s
changed the game. Well, I think it was my senior year. It was about 93 or 92.
Yeah.
It changed the game.
Oh, it totally did.
And it was like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Cartoons can be good again.
Yeah.
And this is what we're in for. And then X-Men, people like that a lot. Although in retrospect, the animation
is
terrible.
Not as great.
I always thought it was terrible, but it really doesn't hold up. But the fact that they pulled from actual X-Men storylines was amazing. That was so fresh and so great. Like, you're doing the Dark Phoenix saga, sign me up.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Agreed.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Also cool that it did. Spider-Man was cool because it did episode to episode continuity a lot.
Yeah.
Like and then the way they ended it, I don't know if you ever saw that. They ended it. They rolled right into Spider-Man Unlimited. The Spider-Man show ends with him getting on a space shuttle and blasting off to Earth 2.
Uh-huh.
And then they came out with Spider-Man Unlimited, which wasn't received as well.
Yeah.
And didn't really survive. But it's actually a really fun show to watch in retrospect because it's the same Peter Parker that was on the 5 years of the regular. So it's the same guy transplanted to another planet.
Yeah.
Full of animals. It's like the high evolutionary storyline from Marvel. Yeah, it's fun.
I'm spoiled rotten because my growing up, born in 1970.
Sweet.
So my late 70s into the early mid 80s, that 75 to 85.
Oh, that must have been crystal clear for you.
The heyday of, I think, the animation back then, all the shows back then, even the ones that you didn't really care for were so much fun. And then
you had people like Jack Kirby.
Right.
Alex Toth
Yeah.
they were the art directors on these shows.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
sign me up.
Well, this was
that's like Space Ghost and all that stuff.
This was back when you would wake up.
Gorgeous.
You would wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Go to the kitchen. Parents are still asleep.
Get a bowl of cereal.
My brother's a year younger than me. Each get a big giant bowl of the most sugary cereal you could get.
What was
and
your
plant it
cereal?
in front of the TV.
What was your go-to?
It was either going to be the Monster cereals.
Oh yeah, nice.
Or probably Sugar Crisp.
For us, it was if there was not a giant, the maximum size Frosted Flakes, and it had to be branded Frosted Flakes.
Frosted Flakes.
Had to be branded
Frosted Flakes is another
one.
one.
Couldn't be like the knockoff Frosted
Right.
Flakes. That was always my mom would bring that home, and all three of us would look at her like, "What is this?
What is
like,
this?
You're a savage." Like, we'll do generic and anything else, but you can't skimp on the Frosted Flakes. Frosted Flakes, and then Cocoa Pebbles.
Right.
I also had a soft spot for Life.
Yeah.
Life cereal.
Life was good.
Life was really good, and not like it's not super sugary, but
No.
for some reason I really liked it.
It was really good, and regular Life.
Yeah, my parents used to. Because I was that. Hey, Mikey, he likes it.
Yeah.
that kid. Yeah, that's That's what they called me because I loved Life
Oh,
cereal
okay.
so much, and I don't know if I loved it because the commercial was popular and I just wanted to be like that kid,
right?
Or if I just loved it so much, and they're like, "Who likes Life cereal?"
Yeah,
you're a weirdo. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, I used to sit there and then watch all the blocks of the Looney Tune cartoons.
Sure.
All the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah. So the point I want to make with like Alex Toth stuff and Kirby is that the animation itself, like when you see it in fluid motion, so it was it's not CG. Let's put it that way.
Not at all.
But what compensates for that is the design work was so gorgeous and so beautiful and so well done.
Right.
That's what makes it stand out. I think as you got to the late 90s, so in that era that we're kind of talking about, that going into the X-Men, I think absolutely Batman doesn't count here because they treated it like an old school cartoon.
Yeah.
But as you got away from bigger budgets on the cartoons for designing them, and you started getting into CG.
Right.
That mid-range, like early 90s to late 90s, the cartoons looked kind of ugly because they weren't putting that kind of design. They weren't spending the money to get that kind of design thought into the cartoon itself.
Yeah.
Exceptions, like Gargoyles would be an exception.
Right.
Obviously, Batman would be an exception.
Yeah.
You don't have that high-end design to where if you have something that's designed so well, you can get away with choppier animation.
Right.
So now you got something that's designed not as well, a little clunkier, like I would say the X-Men stuff. They were kind of clunky designs. Then that doesn't translate well when the animation isn't like super, super great.
Right.
It just looks clunky and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing that I loved about the Batman the Animated Series was that it was the first cartoon that they did where all the backgrounds were done on dark cells.
Yes.
And they did sort of like the negative space thing. Let's paint in the everything we need on top of the dark cells, which gave it this really atmospheric noir feel to it. And then the characters were a little bit bumpier. They were a little bit more colorful. And then when it switched later on to the Adventures of Batman and Robin, they did a total 180 and they started doing the backgrounds on regular cells that you would do. So the backgrounds were brighter and the characters actually became darker.
Is that when they did the redesigns of the characters and kind of smoothed them out a little bit?
Right.
Like the Joker went bad.
Joker
like he got those really with pin eyes.
They kind
right?
of went minimalistic almost.
Yeah.
And
everyone
made the
else,
characters darker.
I thought everyone else was an improvement. I thought that Joker was a little.
Batman's symbol on his chest went away. All the yellow went away. It went just to the dark bad and everything. They kind of brought it all down and made the backgrounds brighter.
This isn't Joe and Jeff on the bat, but
no.
If you're out there and you haven't watched the Batman animated stuff, do yourself a favor. I mean, I can't imagine there's anyone listening to this that hasn't done it.
Yeah,
it's just stuff so good, and so many other people have talked extensively about it.
Yeah,
so we're gonna table this.
Yeah.
We could go on and on.
Oh,
what we're talking about here is G.I. Joe. We're talking about The Traitor Part 2. Jeff Taub,
2.
Actor clown. Are you ready to go, my friend?
I am ready. Let's do this.
We're going to do this. So here we go. The Traitor Part 2. So here we are back with The Traitor.
Yep.
As we said last week, what a way to end the other episode. Like
amazing.
If you're 10 years old... They did Buzz Dixon, man, God bless you. They did a great job with not revealing that he's not a traitor. Like, there's no evidence in that other episode.
No.
that makes you think Dusty is not a straight up traitor.
Right.
I love it. Like they did such a good job of it. Now in retrospect, you look back at it and you go, well,
Its purpose to defend human
because we
freedom
know that
against
obviously
Cobra.
Dusty's a good guy. But
Right.
But like, would he really be like checking out that business card so often?
I know.
If he's already made the deal with Duke, like
Hint,
wouldn't
hint,
he?
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right. Like, how would? But you know what though? But you don't need that though.
No.
Because you need this. This is the episode as it unveils for you, and for you, they're unraveling a mystery.
Now,
Right.
the
So
show
this
that
is
dares
the
to ask
this is the intro
20
recap. So let's
questions.
listen to this, and this is
Good
great.
evening. Tonight's big story
By the way,
is one of
that's your
America's
guy.
elite
That's
They
my
miscolored
guy
his hair.
from 20
A
questions.
traitor.
Yeah, that's but they miscolored his hair. But this is how they're going to give you the show recap within the show.
Our
So
story
let's listen.
began with a
Yeah.
battle between Joe and Cobra forces in Texas City, in which the Joe's new secret armor treatment was revealed for the first time. Enter Specialist 4 Ronald W. Dusty Rudat, seemingly an exemplary G.I. Joe trooper. Idealistic, sincere, trustworthy. What made this young man betray his country and lead his friends into an ambush? An ambush that left G.I. Joe leader Conrad Duke Hauser in a deep coma. His mother's mounting medical bills may account for Rudat selling out his country.
What does Rudat's mother think of this? Is her condition terminal?
Vamoose, you filthy...
But the big question remains. What has Rudat told Cobra? And when will they use it against the Joes and all Americans? This is Hector Ramirez reporting for 20 Questions.
And here we go. We roll right into it. Right.
Roll right into it from where it left off.
Yeah, like how great is it? Like they because normally it's the voiceover and they just show clips from the
Mm-hmm.
previous episode, but they pull in Hector Ramirez, your boy from 20
Yeah,
Questions.
from 20 Questions. It's fantastic.
I love it. They pull him in, although they colored his hair wrong. Unless honestly, in the time since 20 Questions, his life has been so
Yeah.
terrible that he's gone completely white.
White, yeah.
So I thought that's honestly a brilliant little trick, and that's them saying, you know what, let's have fun with it. Let's do something we don't normally do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Dusty gets dropped off, and
Dusty is at the very discreet Cobra headquarters. Cobra is anything, they are discreet.
now look at that, gentlemen.
Yeah.
That is the very first and only Cobra soldier of color.
And wasn't wearing a face
Was
mask.
not
The mask
wearing
thing
a
that they
face
wear.
mask. Was not wearing a face mask.
Yeah.
And he was a African American, or you know what, I don't know where he's from. So he's
Yeah.
a black Cobra soldier.
Yeah.
We don't get a lot. We've talked about this a little bit on the show where Cobra does not have anyone of color
No.
on their side.
No.
They have people from all over the world, but they're all Caucasians.
Right.
And the G.I. Joe team is obviously very
Multicultural.
diverse. Yeah.
Everybody's from everywhere.
Right. And I want to say it was our friend Matt Kyle who said that he's heard in interviews that was 100% done on purpose.
Huh.
Because the show was showing
This is my unit. If he
that,
wants
you know, Cobra is this fascist, you know, regime where they wouldn't welcome, you know, people
Right.
of color, where G.I. Joe would welcome everyone.
Sure.
Right. So this dude, well, one, he's miscolored there because that's just a white dude.
Yeah, yeah.
But this dude is literally the only black guy in Cobra. I guess they made a toy of him like a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like, you know, because they were celebrating the fact that he's the only black Cobra soldier.
Right.
There he is. And
There
it's
he
colored
is.
a little better in that.
Yeah.
So Cobra, you know, Cobra Commander, as we've seen in a bunch of other episodes, he loves arena battles.
Yeah.
I feel like when in the real world, when the movie Gladiator came out, he just turned it into a spank emporium. Like he must have seen Gladiator 100 times in the theater. Like, this is my favorite thing of all.
So this black Cobra officer feels basically that Dusty's honing in on his turf now within Cobra.
Yep.
And they're going to battle to the death.
They're going to battle to the death. And not only to the death, but Cobra Commander introduces man-eating piranhas into the water. He's filling up this gladiator arena
The
with
arena's
water.
filling up with
Yeah.
water, and piranhas are swimming in it.
Yep, and they're swimming in it, and they're eating this dude, and they're eating Dusty. He's got piranhas all over him. Have you ever worked with piranhas?
No.
My dad used to have a piranha for years and years and years.
Really? One?
Well, so his he and his friends had a club they operate in a bar, and they always kept a piranha, and my dad was the keeper of the piranha. Like,
Right.
he was the caretaker of this giant shark fish tank that they
Yeah.
have. And it was Pete the piranha.
Yeah.
And then there was Pete 2, and then there was Pete 3, and Pete, like, one of the Petes I know was stuffed because he was there for so long. When he finally died,
Yeah.
they're all hunters and
Sure,
stuff, and
sure.
they know how to do taxidermy. So they stuffed Pete, and he's on the wall at their bar.
Yeah.
He was frozen in our freezer for months until my dad got around to doing it. And then occasionally Pete would come home and live in our fish tank at home because my dad would be getting the tank cleaned at the club.
Yeah.
So it'd be at our home for a few weeks. And so we dealt with piranha all the time. Like, I grew up around a piranha basically, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just, you go and you like, hey, I haven't thought about Pete the piranha in years. You go,
Pete the
you're
piranha.
just, yeah, and you just go back, Dad, can we feed Pete? He's like, yeah. So you drop a fish in there and you just wait, and they just like side eye him.
Yeah.
It's like Pete will like side eye this fish, side eye him, and then you stop watching him, and then the next thing you hear my dad or one of his buddies go, oh, he just got him. And then you look over and you just see a tail like coming out of the mouth.
Oh man.
Yeah, like piranhas are cool.
Yeah. No. Man.
All that be kind of animal talk on that last episode, and now we're talking
Right,
about
now we're talking about piranhas.
Yeah.
How fast can
Hey,
a
but you know what?
school of
They gotta-
piranhas strip a
They gotta
bull?
eat. Piranhas got to eat.
Yeah.
Pete the piranha's got to eat. Occasionally, you would make the mistake of, when we brought him home, we couldn't obviously have any fish in our tank
Okay.
otherwise Pete would eat the
Yeah.
other fish. So
Yeah.
there were a couple instances where my dad thought we didn't have any fish at the time, but we actually did, and then we didn't have them much longer because
Right.
Pete would just eat them.
Does not play
Yeah.
well with others.
Yeah.
Man.
So now Dusty, true to the fears that Cobra soldier had, Dusty is taking his place, and he's in full on Cobra trooper uniform. I want to say they made a Cobra uniform figure of Dusty too. I feel like I've seen that. Maybe it was a custom, but I
Yeah.
feel like they put Dusty's head on like a Cobra soldier.
But Dusty is still doing so. Dusty's done a mission where they're stealing more of this chemical and stuff for Cobra. And then the Cobra soldier has all the scientists and people working at the place that they're robbing at gunpoint, and he goes, "Should we dispose of all these guys?" And he's like, "No, save your ammo for the
Yep.
Joes."
Yep.
So
And-
he's still got a moral compass,
right? And he didn't blast the Joes. He actually used a barge to block them so they couldn't chase him.
right.
So now we're actually in a chase because the Joes got out of that trap. But it's not like he's firing on his friends.
No.
He's just keeping them out of it. And now they just fell into a bunch of netting.
Yeah.
So that's slowing him down too. Again, not firing on his friends. So maybe he's not a real bad
No,
guy.
well, he's not using deadly force.
This scene also not only obviously reminds me of the Burt Reynolds movie Gator, but but it also reminds me of the game River Raid.
Ah.
Remember River Raid? For
I do.
2600?
I do.
Yeah. This is very River Raidy. When I played River Raid, to this day, because I still have my 2600 and I'll hook it up occasionally, and I
Yeah.
played it up. We had it up all through college and for years after that. The River Raid is my favorite game. Well, we're going to commercial real quick with Dusty escaping.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
Today's Filecard Feature is on the G.I. Joe Desert Trooper, codenamed Dusty. His file name is Ronald W. Tatter, and his primary military specialty is the infantry. His secondary military specialty is refrigeration and air conditioning maintenance. What? His birthplace is Las Vegas, Nevada. Dusty loves the desert. It is clean, pure, and unforgiving, unlike Las Vegas, which is always willing to give you a second chance. Dusty was working as a refrigerator repairman and studying desert ecology at night when his pre-enlistment application for the G.I. Joe team was approved. He took basic at Fort Bliss, Texas, and loved every minute of it. He's a qualified expert in the M16, M14, M19, 11A1, and the M60. Quote, "It's not enough nowadays to have a rapid reaction force responsive instantaneously to explosive situations in far-flung corners of the globe. That force must be capable of surviving in a diverse array of hostile environments to accomplish its objectives. If that means having one expert for every type of environment on every team to take on survival responsibilities on that terrain, then so be it." One interesting note on the file card, his name is Ronald W. Tatter. But on the show, in multiple episodes, Cobra Commander refers to him as Ronald Rudat. So someone got it mixed up, or someone purposely flipped them. I have a feeling it was someone's real name, and they had to flip it around for either the file card or for the real one. I don't actually have the answer to it. Later on, as a toy, they teamed him up with a coyote named Sandstorm. The toy, of course, had a piece of cloth that covered the back of his neck like they do in a lot of the desert terrains. So that was always really cool. He had the brown camouflage look. Later on in his secondary figure, they gave him a yellow beret and a sleeveless top, which the whole look does not seem like it would be very useful in the desert. Seems like it would get a lot of sunburn and not very effective, but you know what? They're the experts, not me. I love that he's a refrigerator repairman. Absolutely love that. I think they referenced that in one of the early episodes. So this is fitting for this episode. Dusty, the traitor or not, we salute you.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, because in River Raid, you got this boat that's shaped like an airplane, but it's on the water, and it's shaped just like a G.I. Joe shark.
Yeah.
So even as a kid, I was just like, I'm just going to pretend this is a G.I. Joe game. And
Yeah.
I'm a shark, and then there were the little helicopters you would shoot in River Raid. Those were Cobra Fangs.
Yeah.
And then there were the big boats.
Yeah.
And like it was a G.I. Joe shark shooting. Like I want someone to mod it so that it's a G.I. Joe game, because that's what River Raid was always.
That's
a G.I. Joe
amazing.
game. Yeah.
Treatment makes even our uniforms impenetrable. Nothing will stop us now.
Real quick, we came back from a commercial break with a great commercial break. Cobra Commander and a shooting, what do they call those? Execution squad.
Yeah.
And they're all aiming at Dusty, and they fire at Dusty. So
Yeah.
you think, oh, he got busted. No, it turns out they applied that
Armor
treatment to his uniform.
To his
and it
uniform.
refracted the lasers.
So now Cobra's soldiers will not have to be shot at all either.
And Dusty's a hero, and the that other soldier that he was fighting, he's now relegated to mopping duty.
Yeah.
Which I feel like he didn't do anything wrong. Why does he got to be a mopper? Why don't you just transfer him, Cobra?
Yeah.
Like,
Come on.
Listen, we've already established you have great health care. Why do you now also have to treat? I mean, you've got good HR.
Yeah.
Why are you letting us down in this?
Come on.
Come on.
As Stalin said, trust no one, not even yourself.
Not a sound. Nothing.
One time,
moving.
I made the mistake of feeding. We brought some bluegill from a pond nearby,
Right.
and we were raising them in our tank. And I made the mistake of feeding them bologna.
Yeah.
Bologna, like literal, like store-bought bologna, which
Yeah.
is so fatty and gross.
Yeah.
I had to scrub that whole fish tank. I had to wash the rocks in the fish tank.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have just bought new rocks, but my dad was like, whatever. It was like, just clean these rocks, because
Yeah.
it was so oily. The fish tank, it looked like the fish tank had the worst case of acne. All the grease just got stuck to everything in it. Everything from like 5 pieces of bologna. And I'm like, but we were fishing with bologna. He's like, yeah, in a lake.
Yeah.
It's bologna in a lake. You don't put bologna in a fish tank. So if any of you kids are out there, don't put bologna in a fish tank.
No.
Learn the hard way.
There you go.
I can't remember what. Intense heat.
Okay.
Fire.
So now Flint is remembering that intense heat is not good for that armor treatment. So
Because Cobra's attacking the G.I. Joe
Yep.
base with
They're-
the armor treatment.
and all the Joe lasers are bouncing off him. So now blowtorch is firing fire at them, and they're launching incendiary bombs at them. So they're basically the fire is gonna negate the armor treatment. And there goes Cobra Commander with a good retreat. It's always good for a retreat. It's at Owlsley Chemical Compounds, which Owlsley
Yeah.
at the time, Jim Owlsley was a prominent editor at Marvel Comics.
Okay.
The first black editor at Marvel
Oh,
Comics,
okay.
first African American editor.
Yeah.
He eventually changed his name to Christopher Priest, now just known as Priest.
Right.
One of my favorite comic book authors of all time, even going back to his Owlsley stuff. But I love Chris Priest. His work is so good, and he just started writing again in comics with
Deathstroke.
and it's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
But it's such a unique name, Owlsley.
Yeah.
And they were tied in with Marvel at the time. So I wonder if they named that after Jim Owlsley.
It's got to be an
It's
Easter egg.
gotta be,
It's
right?
an Easter egg
It's
in
gotta
there.
because like
yeah.
that's a name, like that's like a name. You know,
Yeah.
like it's not like Smith or
And they've dropped little Easter eggs
Yeah.
throughout G.I.
yeah.
Joe.
Oh, well, all the guys are
Yeah.
named. Half of them are named after people.
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
Like Larry Hama knew, or the guys from. So that I actually want to look into that.
Yeah.
'Cause, I had that thought this morning. I'm like, nah, but it couldn't be. But it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Because he absolutely was a prominent editor at Marvel at the time.
Well, now that he's writing comics again and everything, maybe you'll get a chance to meet him at a con and
I
bring
would
it up.
love to. I think he's New York based. I would love to, but he knows he's friends with a lot of people that we know from the store and stuff, and his work has been so seminal. His Black Panther stuff is dynamite.
Yeah.
If you've never read Owlsley / Priest's Black Panther run from the 90s. Do yourself a favor. It's amazing. I love it so much.
It got us.
The Joes were stymied once again.
Dusty actually saved the day for Cobra and captured some Joes.
Mm-hmm. He sure did.
Prospered since you joined us,
I like Cobra
Dusty.
Commander's got a gold bust
It's a
of
pleasure
himself.
serving under your command,
Yeah.
sir.
I'm glad, Dusty. There will be
You know what would be
a high
cool?
position for you
If,
in the new Cobra order.
May we
If they
suggest,
took this to the
Commander,
next, like,
That you
so let's
test
remake
the
this,
mind control gas
and
on the
instead of keeping
Joes.
Dusty in the generic Cobra soldier uniform,
Right.
what would Dusty's Cobra uniform look like? Because, like,
Ooh.
you know what I mean? Like, he would graduate to the upper echelon, right?
Do you think it would be the same pattern as his G.I. Joe one,
But
except
blue
blue
and
and
red,
black,
blue
blue
and
and red,
red,
or blue
yeah,
and black or
something
something?
like that, yeah.
But the colors of Cobra?
Yeah. So we're going to go on a commercial break with
G.I.
Dusty
Joe
being
will
asked to
return
really
after
betray the
these
Joes.
messages.
Lift up! Joe! Wait till Cobra sees our new battle platform. It's arriving! Attack now by hydrofoil! Cobra hydrofoil, shooting what the water is an evil new foe. Cobra hydrofoil, gonna get G.I. Joe! G.I. Joe! They're counter-attacking! Top it out, Starken! Top it out! What's next? Find out in Marvel Comics.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
I'm going to throw that out there. Let's do this. Hashtag it Cobra Dusty. Or Dusty Cobra? What do you want to say? Hashtag it
Claymore to Crimson Guard commanders.
Cobra. No?
No,
What are we doing?
Cobra Dusty.
Cobra Dusty. Hashtag it Cobra Dusty out there.
Yeah.
If you're out there listening to this and you're an artist of any renown, or even if you're not that good, but you have some ideas, what would Dusty's upper echelon Cobra uniform look like?
If he were with Cobra full time.
Yeah, so let's say he stayed around with Cobra and they said, we got to get you out of these regular blues. You know, put you in an outfit like Tomax and Zaymot or
Something
Baroness,
unique.
Destro. Yeah. What would Dusty's upper echelon Cobra uniform look like? Hashtag Cobra Dusty.
Yeah.
Let's get this out there.
Let's see.
And Jeff, I challenge you. We got a couple weeks. Let's both come up with something.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know. Whatever.
I'm awful. I can't draw to save my life.
That's okay. We're gonna come up with it. Okay. So the Crimson Twins just came up on them. And by the way, Cobra Commander, they just teased us him eating.
Yeah.
And it was really gross.
Yeah.
It was really gross. Dusty's hair is colored wrong.
We
Right there.
found your golden boy.
Tampering with the mind
They
control
think they
gas.
busted him.
Fools. I
Turns out
ordered him
Cobra
to
Commander
prepare the gas.
ordered him to prepare
Without
Supervision?
because he's smiling. You see the look on his face? It's great.
He
Yeah.
has nowhere to go. Why should he work against Cobra? A final test will prove your loyalty once and for all.
Most of these Cobra plots, they fall apart because the Cobra Commander's a dope.
Yeah. He's
You
a little
know?
too full of himself.
Yeah, too full of himself. He's too confident that his charisma has won over Dusty is what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. He's like, oh, of course I'm not being fooled. How you think you're gonna fool me?
But he doesn't even follow his own thing where he quotes Stalin as say, "Don't trust anyone, especially yourself."
Right, exactly.
But then he does.
Yeah. Well, he's looking great in his cape right now, which, by the way, that looks like the same cape Mindbender would eventually
Yeah,
wear. And
it's
I'm absolutely serious. It's got the little Cobra paulets on it.
And it's
the
like
same color
magenta
purple.
pink.
Yeah. That's Mindbender's.
Yeah.
Eventually, Mindbender steals that from him.
Cobra Commander looks fabulous.
He really does. So we've got a bunch of Joes that were captured, and they're in a
Minds belong to Cobra. Seal the
pit.
arena.
Yeah, they're in the same like arena, little
and-
arena pit.
And it's going to get sealed in, so he runs a pane of glass over it. And it's Flint and Jay and Shipwreck.
Bunch of green shirts.
A bunch of green shirts. And so they seal off the vents in the temple, and they open the vents where the Joes are at, and they're going to gas these dudes and drive them cray-cray.
He's gonna have Dusty gas him.
Right. And Dusty's going to do it, but oh no. What's going to happen? Oh, everyone's doomed. What is Dusty going to do? This is awesome. He hits the buttons again, and he switches it, just like in Superman 2.
Right?
When Superman switched the polarity in the
And he goes,
in the Fortress
they
of
were on the
Solitude.
outside, and
Well, you
were
were
on the inside. And then
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve
He
gives
just
the little,
gives the,
I'm
just
smart.
points at his
I'm
head.
touching my temple.
Yeah,
You got it.
You got it. So Dusty flips the switch, flips the script on him, and he gasses the Cobras.
And he frees the Joes.
Yeah. So now here's my question. If they were going to execute the Joes, did Dusty just execute the Cobras?
Oh, my goodness. 'Cause none of them are getting
No,
up.
they're not.
None of them are getting
because
up.
Really, Cobra Commander wasn't just going to put those Joes to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not. What's the fun in that? They would just wake up and he'd be like, "Ha ha! I put
Yeah.
you to sleep," right? They were going to kill those Joes. So really, Dusty
Man.
just killed all those Cobras.
Dusty's hardcore.
Dusty's the man.
Sorry to interrupt, but he's one of us.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You bet. Let's go.
Dusty just rips that Cobra sigil off his shirt pretty easily, but
Not
you know.
sewn on.
Oh
very
wait,
well.
they're alive.
They're
Then I want to know what this does.
Maybe these are more,
It was,
though.
it was mind. It was a mind control. Gas.
It was a mind control
So maybe it like
gas.
knocks them out, and then they wake up and like are kind of controlled. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
maybe there's a little bit of that to it. But for a second there, I was
Yeah.
like, Dusty is a genocidal maniac.
right? Cobra's really done a number on him, even though he's a good guy.
Hashtag Cobra Dusty.
Oh man.
So we got a little laser fight going on. It's going to be enough to give Cobra Commander time to escape.
The fun thing is that Shipwreck comes to Dusty's aid when he's being overwhelmed by Cobra troopers to sort of like show, oh, everything's all right
Yep.
now because they had to fight in the first episode.
Right. Exactly. Because they're buddies. I like that they kept it. Because a lot of times they'll start with an episode like, well, Deep Six, for example. Deep Six was a major character in the first one. He showed up a lot.
Not here anymore.
Yeah, he's not in this one. Like
Nope.
just because of time constraints. And,
Sure.
you know, it's understandable. And it's actually more realistic. When you have a team of like 20 dudes, not every dude is going to be involved in everything.
Exactly.
So, but I like that they kept Shipwreck around because it was such a personal thing for him that Dusty, was
Yeah.
a traitor, right?
But now they're basically trapped inside the Cobra Temple.
Yeah, they got to they're
part of Duke's plan.
they got to work out. But now he just revealed that it's Duke's
These
plan.
chemicals can make mind control gas, or they can make a formula that neutralizes our armor treatment.
Boom. That's the secret to this whole 2 episodes.
Ooh.
The gas neutralizes that armor treatment.
Wow.
And Duke knew that. And Duke had a plan. So now we're going to bring up something that is going to happen later. And by the way, the gas now it starts melting everything that was armor treatment, which also happened in the previous armor treatment episode.
Yeah.
I will say this:
Knew the armor treatment
Duke
was unstable.
goes into a lot of comas.
It reacts with certain chemicals
Duke's
and
in a coma
corrodes
here.
whatever
Yeah.
is
Duke gets
protected.
put in a coma in the G.I. Joe movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was in a coma in any other movie. Okay, Lady J just rips some dude's pants off and laughs at his small wiener.
Yeah.
That's funny. Duke is in at least 2 comas that we know of. Straight up comas.
Yeah.
Like a coma.
Poor Duke.
Duke's got to have some severe brain damage is my point.
Yeah.
Like by the time after the G.I. Joe movie,
Yeah.
he's got to have some severe brain damage. He's been in 2 significant comas
Yeah.
over the course of like a 2-year span.
Especially with the bad G.I. Joe medical plan, apparently,
Right?
that's out
Yeah.
there.
Cobra Commander makes his escape. And this guy is supposed to, he's miscolored. That's
Yeah.
it's supposed to be the black
It's supposed
dude
to be
from
the
earlier.
black Cobra
Yeah,
officer.
but it doesn't make any
The
sense. 'cause
coloration was really wrong.
he's- They're at the G.I. Joe hospital. G.I. Joe's a
Oh.
whole hospital. Apparently they're used to Duke going into comas.
I guess so.
But Duke reinstates him, and it turns out he went into the coma and he couldn't tell everyone the plan.
Now that my Dusty's a Joe again, will
And here comes
somebody
Dusty's
explain what
sassy
happened?
mom, and here we go with an
Easy enough,
explanation.
Mrs. Rudat. Chemists told us our new armor treatment was unstable. Sooner or later, Cobra would have figured that out. When Cobra agents approached Dusty, he came to me. We cooked up the whole Traitor routine. Because we wanted Cobra to get the armor treatment. But a Cobra bomb put me in a coma. I was the only one who knew Dusty's defection was never for real.
You
Awesome.
poor boy.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's so cool. That's so good. And
So
that's
they-
how the show ends?
yeah.
That's so cool.
G.I.
Like
Joe
it's such
will
a great
return after
like
these messages.
yeah, like they don't dwell on it. They just say
Yeah.
this is what happened, and Dusty's a good guy, and his mom, although they never really addressed it, whether or not she's gonna be able to pay off her house.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
frankly, she's still on the crappy G.I. Joe medical bills.
Well, actually, she's in the G.I. Joe hospital right now.
She is.
Maybe she can get a quick checkup.
Why wasn't she in the hospital before?
She can get a little checkup
Dusty,
here.
what are you doing?
Give her a once-over.
Take care of your mom,
I
Dusty.
know. That's
Get
a
some insurance.
That's a good lesson to everybody. Take care of your moms.
Once again, Obamacare solves this whole episode.
That's it.
That's it. Jeff Taub,
Yes.
thank you so much. This was great.
This was so much
I'm
fun.
glad to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And for all you listeners out there, you're the best. Thank you so much. Make sure you listen to more Joe on Joe.
yeah.
Tell your friends. It's the best thing you can do is spread the word. When you go to your G.I. Joe conventions, be like, hey, I listen to this podcast. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They watch every show and they talk about it and make fun and hopefully make you laugh.
When you're on iTunes, give this man a review.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So once again, thank you for listening. And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.